is Chris ChoGlueck. I use he, his pronouns, and I'm Associate Professor of Ethics at New Mexico Tech. And I'm excited to be here in Pittsburgh, in the big Cathedral of Learning. Feels like I'm truly in the ivory tower for this semester while I'm on sabbatical. While I'm here, I'm working on a book about male contraception. A lot of my expertise and research, at least for the last decade or so, going back to my dissertation, is on female contraception. I've worked a lot on the debates over emergency contraceptives and different ways that values and ideas about gender enter into drug regulation and drug labeling. And I actually, for a long time, didn't think about male contraception at all. It was actually during my dissertation that somebody asked me, why is it, that you only talk about contraception for women or for cisgender women, other people who menstruate and can get pregnant. And I was kind of puzzled. I was like, that's true. I don't really know why. So I started looking into male contraception, and I realized I had no idea at all about male reproductive health. I knew everything about ovulation and the process of fertilization and implantation, but there was very little that I knew about how sperm are made, how they're activated. I had no idea how testosterone worked in the body. And what's really funny is when I looked more into it, I'm not the only one. There's actually a massive disparity between the field of gynecology, which you're probably familiar with, and if you're a woman, you probably have a gynecologist, and what would be like the brother field of andrology, which there are very few andrologists, and we actually historically haven't done nearly as much work trying to understand men's reproductive health. And so what's really interesting is, and a lot of my work is on bias, a lot of medical knowledge has historically been biased towards men and done in male bodies. When it comes to reproductive health, we actually know a lot less about men. And much of this has to do with traditional gender norms that equate the value of women with their reproductive functioning. But this has also systematically undermined the development of a male contraceptive. And so what I've been doing in my time here is starting to think about how I can start a larger conversation about male contraception, which, while there are only 2 or 3, depending on how you count them, methods, which would be external condoms, vasectomy, and the pull-out method, if you count that, or withdrawal. There's actually a lot of really interesting stuff in the pipeline, everything from hormonal methods that clamp down on testosterone production to non-hormonal methods that interfere with the way that sperm are developed. And the project that I'm working on looks both at the history of contraceptive development, how we've had double standards in the research in really interesting ways, where funders are not that interested in male contraceptives, haven't for a long time, but are increasingly getting interested. And so you have this massive funding disparity. You also have differences in the safety assessments between female contraceptives, where we've long tolerated side effects, things like low libido, or headaches, or mood swings, and then when you have similar things with male contraceptives, we're much less prone to continue those into development. So I've been trying to piece apart the different ways that values enter into the science, as well as trying to hold up some of the really interesting research that is going on. And a lot of this has led me into some larger questions. I would say my other focus area, in addition to philosophy of science, is feminist philosophy. And right now I'm thinking a lot about why it is that contraception has historically been gendered as women's work, how we might be able to reframe contraception as a shared responsibility, something that men ought to be doing more of, and how this challenges traditional norms of men as biological fathers, as seed spreaders, all of these interesting implicit background assumptions that many of us have that kind of equate masculinity with sperm production, which is definitely something that we're going to have to overcome if we're going to mainstream male contraceptives. So I hope that you're able to come to my talk, to listen to the recording, or to read some of my other work. And thank you for listening.